So we've got some breaking news for you. An agency spokesperson tells the Associated Press that the FBI has executed a search warrant today at the Fulton County.
Our interstate highways. For years, a phantom army of tractor-trailers, hiding in plain sight, moved a river of drugs and dirty cash right under our noses. Tonight, we go inside the FBI's operation that smashed a $92 million trucking empire, an empire that turned the open road into the cartel's personal conveyor belt. The story begins not with a flashy drug lord, but with a ledger. A seemingly ordinary trucking company based in Laredo, Texas, Continental Freight Solutions, was moving legitimate goods. But the FBI's Southern Texas field office, working with the DEA and HSI, noticed a pattern. Their trucks were always on time, always moving, but their routes and finances didn't quite add up. The company was hyper-profitable in a brutally competitive industry. This wasn't just good business, it was too good. The investigation, dubbed Operation Iron Road, began with surveillance, financial audits, and confidential sources. Agents soon realized Continental was just one node in a vast, sophisticated network. They uncovered a web of interconnected companies, over a dozen shell corporations and legitimate front businesses, spread across a staggering 14 states, from the border states of Texas, Arizona, and California, deep into the heartland in Illinois, Ohio, and Georgia, and up to distribution hubs in New York and New Jersey. This was logistics on a Fortune 500 scale, but its cargo was chaos. The network operated with chilling efficiency. In border states, pickup crews working for the Cartel del Noreste or the Sinaloa Cartel would load kilograms of cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, and heroin into specially constructed compartments within trailers, false floors, hollowed-out pallets, even inside legitimate cargo like produce or auto parts. These hot trucks would then be given a clean bill of lading. Once across the internal checkpoints, they would rendezvous at prearranged, seemingly innocuous locations. Truck stops outside Dallas, warehouses in Kansas City, distribution centers outside Chicago. Here, transfer crews would offload the narcotics to regional distributors. But the network's genius, and its critical value to the cartels, was the return trip. The same trailers, now empty of drugs, were loaded with the cartel's second most vital commodity, cash. Millions in small bills, vacuum-sealed and packed into the same hidden compartments, would be driven back south to the border, completing the vicious cycle. This was a round-trip economy of death. The scale was almost unimaginable. FBI wiretaps captured coded conversations about tires, kilos of cocaine, and engine parts, cash. They tracked transactions where millions were moved not in suitcases, but via ACH transfers and business accounts, laundered through the purchase of more trucks, more warehouses, more legitimate assets. The $92 million figure quoted represents just the proven financial flow they could track over a 2-year period. The actual total is believed to be far higher. The human cost was etched in communities far from the border. Overdose spikes in Midwestern towns were traced directly to product moved by this network. The fentanyl pills, pressed to look identical to prescription medication, were distributed with ruthless efficiency. The FBI realized they weren't just investigating a criminal enterprise. They were targeting a critical national security threat, the supply chain that was fueling the opioid epidemic. Building the case required unprecedented coordination. Prosecutors from the Eastern District of Texas worked with agents across multiple FBI field offices, the DEA, IRS criminal investigation, and state and local police. They painstakingly mapped the entire network: drivers, logistics managers, money couriers, accountants, and the violent enforcers who protected the shipments. They used surveillance, undercover operations, and forensic accounting to follow the money trail, knowing it would lead them to the kingpins. The goal was not a series of small busts, but a single, devastating hammer blow to dismantle the entire system in one coordinated takedown. The stage was set for a historic strike. Before sunrise on a crisp Tuesday morning, the largest coordinated law enforcement action against a cartel transportation network in U.S. history was set in motion. From command centers in Quantico to field offices across the country, the go order was given. Operation Iron Road was entering its final phase. Simultaneously, in the early morning darkness of cities and rural industrial parks across 14 states, FBI SWAT teams, alongside DEA and state troopers, converged on pre-targeted locations. The targets were varied. The suburban homes of company owners, nondescript trucking terminals, and anonymous storage units. The element of surprise was total. In Columbus, Ohio, a regional manager was pulled over in his SUV on his way for coffee. In Phoenix, Arizona, agents breached a fortified garage where trucks were being retrofitted with hidden compartments. The arrests were mostly quiet, methodical, the culmination of years of intelligence. But the primary target, the central hub suspected of being the main northern distribution center, was a massive, unmarked warehouse on the outskirts of Joliet, Illinois. Intelligence suggested this was where major shipments were broken down for regional distribution. The team approaching it was the largest, armed with battering rams and breaching tools, expecting heavy resistance. As the team secured their arrest targets, the real evidentiary goldmine began to unfold. At the Joliet warehouse, after securing the few stunned guards inside, agents flipped on the industrial lights. What they saw was not just a storage facility, it was a Walmart of narcotics. Stacked on pallets, wrapped in plastic, with thousands of kilograms of drugs in their raw, wholesale form. There were bricks of cocaine stamped with brand logos, gallon-sized bags of shimmering methamphetamine crystals, and barrels of fentanyl precursor chemicals. The air was thick with a sickly sweet chemical smell. The scale was so vast that agents had to wait for specially calibrated industrial scales to be brought in. The final tally from that warehouse alone was staggering. Over 3,000 kilograms of cocaine, 200 kilograms of meth, 50 kilograms of heroin, and 10 kilograms of pure fentanyl powder, enough to kill the population of several states. The total seizure across all locations would eventually be weighed in at 3.41 tons of narcotics. The street value? Unfathomable. In pure profit for the cartels, it represented tens of millions of dollars. In human suffering, it was incalculable. But the warehouse held another secret. In a soundproofed office, investigators found the nerve center, computers with detailed logistics software, tracking shipments with legitimate GPS codes, ledgers noting weights, prices, and delivery confirmations, and payouts to drivers, all meticulously recorded. This was the cartel's Amazon dashboard. They also found firearms, semi-automatic rifles and pistols, and evidence of violence, photos used for intimidation, and logs of security incidents that alluded to disappearances of those who threatened the operation. The arrests piled up. 87 individuals in total were taken into custody that day and in the following weeks. They were not all stereotypical gangsters. The arrest roster read like the roster of a mid-sized corporation. The CEO, a calculated businessman from McAllen, Texas. The COO, a logistics expert from Indianapolis. The CFO, an accountant from Atlanta who expertly commingled illicit and legal funds. Regional managers, warehouse foremen, and of course, the drivers, some who were coerced threats, others who were willing participants lured by astronomical payouts for a single special delivery. Interviews with lower-level drivers revealed the cartel's manipulation. Some were deep in debt and offered a way out. Others were told their families would be harmed if they refused. Once they made one run, they were owned. The network provided them with clean trucks, perfect paperwork, and specific instructions to avoid scales and inspections. They were the invisible, essential cogs. As the press conferences began later that day, the magnitude of the operation stunned the public. The U.S. Attorney, flanked by FBI and DEA officials, laid out the breathtaking scope. "We did not simply arrest drug dealers," she said. "We targeted and dismantled the trucking and logistics division of a major transnational criminal organization. We seized their inventory, froze their assets, and arrested their management team." The network is shattered, but the fight is far from over. Who were the real masterminds? And what does this tell us about the future of the drug war? The shocking truth, next in the days following the takedown, while the 87 defendants began their journey through the federal justice system, facing charges of conspiracy to distribute narcotics, money laundering, and weapons offenses, the final image of Operation Iron Road is not the perp walks or the piles of drugs. It's a simple, chilling realization. The cartels have studied the American economy and mastered it. They have turned our greatest strengths, our open commerce, our advanced infrastructure, against us. The FBI's smash of this $92 million network is a decisive battle won in a war that has fundamentally changed. The war is no longer at the gate. It's in the warehouse down the street, on the highway you drive every day, and in the very systems that power our daily lives. The question is no longer if they will try to rebuild, but how. And the answer will determine the next chapter in this endless, shadowy conflict. Investigators faced a more sobering reality.